Good morning everyone. Yes, here it is, my rather Spartan and empty house, but it does have lights, which is the main thing. At least it's lit up. Now, as you can see, it's getting quite light out there. Oh, and the lights have gone out themselves. So what's this all about? Well, it's this thing. It's added in the new snapshot. It is a daylight sensor. I know what you're saying. This is a daylight sensor. It gets power when the sun's up. Well, how does that work? Well, it gets inverted. It gets inverted by this little thing here. So, if we'll play God for a minute, we'll set the time to dawn. You can see that there's a little bit of power coming out of it, but not enough to reach the inverter, which means that all my lights are powered. And my house is lit up. So I've got a couple of experiments over here that I want to show you. The first of which is an actual gauge. So this thing is the daylight sensor, and as the sun comes up more and more above the horizon, it gains more power coming out of it, which means this line of redstone dust gets more and more powered. As you can see there, it ticked to another block. This is a redstone torch, obviously, which is just powering the whole thing. So this is where it will be at its maximum. So obviously this one's off because it'll never get powered. So this will be the maximum one that this one will power. This is the furthest it will go. Now, when does it do that? Well, it does that at midday. So sun is right above you. That is when the daylight sensor outputs its maximum power. If we set it slightly earlier, it goes down a bit. We set it slightly earlier again, it goes down a bit more. If we set it right on morning, it's about there, so it's nice and blue in the sky. That's kind of where we want the daylight sensor to be turning off all our house lights. Whereas if we set it to 2300, which is just before dawn, it's all the way down there. So as it comes up, that is the biggest change between there and there. It gets quite a lot of power coming out of it there, and then it slowly creeps up as the day goes on until it gets to midday here, and then as you go beyond midday, it starts ticking down again. So it's not just a daylight sensor, it's a time of day sensor, even though you can just, you know, look up in the sky and see. So you could kind of use it for more accurate in-game clocks, so you can do an approximate 12-hour in-game day clock, and then once it hits here, it resets that clock and it counts down again. So yeah, you could do that. Now, the actual sensor itself is slightly different to any other redstone powered item in the game so far, and I'll show you why in a second. So this is experiment number 2. This is a switch, a daylight sensor, and a redstone torch. They are all situated in the position that you would normally have them, and they're all surrounded by the same array of lamps and a redstone torch on the side of it. So as you can see with the switch, what happens is when you turn the switch on and off, it not only powers the area it's in, the block it's in, it also powers the one below it, which in turn sends power to all the ones surrounding it. So power comes out here, power comes into this redstone torch and turns it off, and power goes into this lamp which turns it on. Unlike the redstone torch powers itself, and it powers all the blocks around it. So if we add another block here, you get that. Now unfortunately that one's getting in the way. It's best to show you here. So that redstone torch lights that one, and that one. It won't light that one, it won't light that one, and it certainly won't light any of the ones down the bottom. However, as you can see as with the switch, it does light all these things. The sensor is slightly different. The sensor is essentially the same as a redstone torch, except it will turn this one on underneath it. Now, if you don't know much about redstone, what happens is you can have several states regarding the actual power state of the block. One, it can be powered, or it can be unpowered, and it can also be transmitting. So a redstone torch will transmit. It will transmit to there. It will transmit to that side of it, and it will transmit to that side of it. It will transmit to all three sides and above it, which means you can do vertical upwards power transfer, but you can't do vertical downwards power transfer. This is the special way that a redstone torch sitting on top of a block works. Now, this is where it gets really weird. When you have a switch will transmit. It will transmit to there, it will transmit to there, it will transmit above it in exactly the same way as a redstone torch will. However, it will also transmit below it, and it will also turn the block below it into a transmitting block. Which means that anything that's adjoining to this block will get power sent along it. Redstone dust is always transmitting so long as it's on, which is why it's used as wire. This is why this one transmits the power down but doesn't turn it into a transmitting block, which is why the redstone doesn't get activated, and which is why this redstone torch doesn't get switched off. This leads us to a small problem with the daylight sensor, in that you can't just sit it on a block and then invert it. This is a big problem with this daylight sensor, because it means that anything you use for it, you will have to you will have to be a bit more, it can be compact, you have to be a bit bigger than what you would expect. So what we would normally expect is for you to be able to stick it on top, stick a block underneath it, invert it, and then stick a lamp here, and that means you get an inverse of a daylight sensor. You get a nighttime sensor, which means that the lights come on when it gets dark and go off when it gets light again. So you saw over there that had a little bit of a, well, like I said, it was a rather elongated, a rather large piece of redstone here. I've tried to come up with a few compact solutions over here. Oh, also, while it's raining, just to let you know, it does go down slightly, so if we set it to midday, so as you can see, there's no sun in the sky, it's midday, and it's not up there. So yeah, it's weather dependent, so actually no, you couldn't use it as a clock, which is unfortunate. But you can use it to determine when you've gone from darkness to light and light to dark. So when you can determine when morning has broken, as it were. Also, you can see with this experiment, back to the experiment session. So you can see with this experiment, this daylight sensor itself has blocks on top of it, but so long as it has light block around it, so long as it's not entirely enclosed, it will still transmit power. So this one transmits power up here, up here, up here, inverts it here, and that one will power this lamp. In the case of this one, this is 3 by 3 by 2, comes out here, comes out here, goes straight into that block, inverts it, and switches that on. Now, these are the smallest ones that I can come up with that not only switch off the lamp during the daytime, but actually waits until the sun is over the horizon, because as soon as the sun comes peeking over, it's still very dark. It's like this, the moment of dusk, the moment of dawn, that will start generating 1 or 2 notches of power. What you want to do is have at least 5, maybe 6 notches of power, depending on how bright you actually want the sky to be, before it automatically turns your lights off. So you kind of need to have it going around a little bit, then switching it off and doing all that. So if we reset the time to just before dawn, helps if I know 2300. Weather calm. Get rid of this bloody rain. Clear, as it were. Yes. Sorry, commands are a bit. I don't know. Come on. There we go. It's clearing up. So as the sun comes over the horizon, you can see there it ticks onto 3, 4. Sky is blue. Light goes off. This one's slightly longer. Sun is actually over the hill at this point. I'll show you that again. So sun is just over the horizon. Starts peaking up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Comes a bit more over the horizon. Peaks to 5. And a little bit longer. Peaks to 6. That one goes off, as do my house lights. Another one peaks, and that goes off. And we're fairly in. We're still not past morning. We're still not past morning until we're into the daytime. Once the sky stops being orange, it's kind of taken as being daytime. So I think one more tick and it's considered daytime. Yeah, I think that's considered daytime. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks turns it into daytime. And like I said, as the day goes on, the sun rises in the sky, and that eventually gets to here at midday. Unless, of course, it's raining. So I'll actually show you this. If we set the time to midday, full, weather, rain. At midday it goes to there. In fact, we'll just make sure it's still midday. So yeah, during the rainstorm, knocks it down 3 points. Thunderstorm, it gets even darker. This is basically at the level that hostile mobs will start spawning, apparently. I might be wrong about that. It might have been changed. Luckily it's on peaceful, so I don't have to care about that. But, like I said, you could probably actually use this as a warning that things might start spawning. Could do it like that. I'm not actually sure how many uses this could have. It's certainly a lot more efficient and a lot more trustworthy than the old way of doing a daylight sensor, and that is by using trap testificates. But like I said, I think I would have liked it to be a little bit more compact, and I would certainly have liked it so that you could just do one block and an inverter in order to make it a nighttime sensor as opposed to a daylight sensor. Anyway, so that's been the daylight sensor. I will hopefully be back at some point with some more redstone stuff, especially from this new snapshot. Hopefully we'll be getting a few more things in this. There's hoppers to go over as well, but I've been playing with hoppers and I haven't actually got anything built that I can actually show you yet. I've just been playing around with them. Hoppers are actually quite fun, but they're a bit as hard as redstone to get your head around how they actually operate and some of the tricks you can actually do with them at the moment. And especially considering in the last snapshot they've actually changed the way that the hoppers respond to redstone signals. Hopefully the next snapshot will have some more stuff in it. Certainly hoppers are the biggest addition to this patch, and like I said, it takes a while to be able to figure out everything about them and to make sure that you're going to cover everything. So I will be back next time with hoppers. It will probably be in a few days' time. We'll talk about Wednesday or Thursday. Until then, enjoy playing with your daylight sensors and enjoy playing with quartz. I've been Big Dave. This has been Daylight Sensors, and I'm going to go inside.